A lawyer turned disability advocate, flipping the script on summer learning with an engaging tool that's helping families to talk about disabilities and medical complexities. It's called Where Hope Lives, and it's out just as we enter Disability Pride Month. So joining us now is Lindsey Mazza. Welcome to CP24 Breakfast. Lindsey, thank you so much for taking time to speak with us.
Thanks for having me.
Let's talk about these conversations because they can be difficult for some. Of course, they're very sensitive. But what made you decide that you want to open up this conversation for people at home?
Yeah, so for me, I lived with a visible disability my whole life, didn't talk about it until about 2 years ago when my father passed away, who had the same disability. Went to law school, was an advocate for everyone else, and then I realized that I needed to use my story to start helping other people because I lived my whole life not being seen or receiving the accessibility accommodations that I needed.
At what point did you realize I need to speak up and advocate for myself and for others who could really use that kind of support?
So I advocated for myself my whole life, but when my dad passed, and he was a lifelong advocate, it was a real pivotal moment for me because I realized that in order to continue his legacy, I had to use our story to shift the conversation and make change.
And speaking of change, let's talk a little bit about this board game. And I think this is a great way to have these conversations, especially with kids. And I mean, we saw in that video there, maybe the wrong way is approached when it comes to talking about kids and encouraging that people are inclusive and addressing something like disability.
Right. So I've partnered with Safe Haven, and they're a Toronto-based organization that helps kids and parents with medical complexities. And they've rolled out this game called Where Hope Lives as a teachable teaching tool for children. And I think it's really important because the truth is disability isn't talked about. It's not included in the conversation. We live in a world where we're talking about DEI initiatives, but accessibility and disability issues continue to be siloed. And I think having games like this mainstream within the school systems is really, really important to start shifting things.
Is that the hope then, maybe to get games like this into the school and really open up these talks?
Yes, because I think adults need to be educated so that they can properly speak to children. In my life experience, it wasn't the kids that failed me, it was the adults.
Really?
Yes.
In what way? What did you notice that you felt, okay, this is failing me?
School was really hard for me. My teachers were really awful. My earliest memory was 6 years old. I always had an accommodation in place where there was a buddy system and my friend could come with me to the washroom. And I was a few weeks into grade 1, same system, and my teacher denied me one day when I asked her to go to the washroom. She said I couldn't bring my friend. And at 6 years old, I had to plead with her. She said no. And I had to go home to my parents and start advocating for myself at that young age, which is what I attribute the starting point of when I started to disassociate from myself and stop talking about my disability because it didn't seem to serve me. So that messaging starts at the top. So all of my classmates witnessed this teacher mistreating me, and that's how I went through school.
Yeah, and those classmates maybe thought that was acceptable because of the way you were treated by an adult. That's awful to hear, but I am so encouraged to hear that, you know, you're addressing this and coming up with different ways with Safe Haven to talk about this with people at home. Let's talk about the game if we can. So how does it work? Are you able to give us a bit of a demo?
Yeah, so it's a standard board game in that you spin. Each player has their piece. You spin to see how many spaces you move across the board, and then you land on a variety of spaces. And you pull cards. So there's the roadblock card. I don't know if you want to pull one.
Can we pull this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I hope I didn't. I think I took too many. Let's hear. You went to the mall, but the only accessible parking spot was taken by someone who didn't need it. Skip a turn. So then I would not have an opportunity to go again. Right,
and this opens up the conversation. You know, accessible parking spots are very limited, and I don't think people pay attention to those things. And if you start taking note of where accessible parking spots are, in location to the entrance of the building, where the ramp to the sidewalk is, and whether or not there's even an accessible button to get in the building. Those things are really, really lacking. And that's why a game like this is so important, because quite honestly, unless you have an accessibility need, you're not paying attention to those things, and everybody needs to be an ally.
I was going to ask you, do you think the city and cities are doing enough when it comes to accessibility and accommodating people who are living with disabilities? What more could we do maybe to?
Oh my gosh, we are so falling short. And Canada is supposed to be one of the most accessible countries in the world, and we are grossly underserving the disabled community. The last stat in Canada was 2022, and there's 8 million Canadians over the age of 15 that live with one or more disabilities, and that population continues to be ignored in these conversations.
Yeah, we need to speak up and talk about this and address it, especially in schools. I think that's great.
Yeah.
How can we find you? How can we connect you with you in your work?
Yeah, so I'm at lindseyMazza.com.
Okay.
Instagram is the Lindsey Mazza, as well as LinkedIn. And people can go to Safe Haven's website, safehavenstore.ca, to purchase the game.
That's wonderful. Lindsey, thank you so much.
Thank
and
you.
Congratulations. This work is so important, and it's really great to see something like this. Thank you.
Thank you.
More coming up on CP24 Breakfast. Stay with us.